which means you will find a lot of local products which are properly quality checked, and whether it is food product or whether it is anything else will become important. The third is going to be the digitization. So that's a medium where you will find even today also, if you don't have the delivery from Amazon or from grocers and from everyone, it is your local apps which are helping you to do this. And packaging has a role to play, because what kind of products you deliver over there becomes important. And the last one is reduction of food waste. So these are the four big trends, and according to me, in all the four, we will have a major role to play. The categories which I have already told is basically going to be about survival, which can be mass produced with the quality assured, and food, personal hygiene, personal care products are going to be the key as far as the emerging categories are concerned. So I think it's going to be a good time for us. Only thing is we'll have to adjust our offerings to small to a bulk pack rather than having a regular consumer packs.
I think I tend to agree to all the points. So definitely the price points are going to be very important, because the purchasing power among people is going to be low. There will always be a requirement for the top of the line or semi-luxury kind of a good, for which there will always be some market, though it may be lower than expected. But now I think overall consumption of packaged goods, packaged food in specifically might come down, because people will insist on fresh product, cheaper product, make it yourself kind of a product. So yeah, that's about all. So we all hope that the recovery is as soon, because if the recovery is good and people are back in business and people have purchasing powers in the next maybe 6-8 months, then we should be going back again to doing better than in fact we were doing in the past.
Right, sir. So my next question is, will processed and packaged products be preferred over loose products?
So I think the processed and packaged food will always have a space in the market because of what they offer. But again, this purchasing power is the key word that I'm repeating. Therefore, but processed foods are always costlier. They are not very affordable. So I think that sector is not going to do as good. It may come down. Even the way people have been depending on biscuits in this COVID period, I think that consumption will also come down when people reach home and have their own kitchen working and operating. So I think there will be pressure on processed food.
Yeah, I think I agree with what Fadal is saying to an extent, but I also feel that this is the opportunity to convert loose to packed market. The only thing is that the pack market, which we understand today, are the products which are probably having a shelf life of say 6 months to 12 months. And the one point which I told earlier, the greenhouse gases, etc., which is actually talked about having a responsibility towards the environment, which will also push a mega trend to have products which are probably be delivered through a faster supply chain. And as a result, you will have less preservative, as I told earlier, maybe more nutrition, and people will be relying more on the brand rather than looking at the products which can be sourced from anywhere. So I think the source which is more predictable will also, which is quality assured, also will become important. And hence I see the trend as far as loose to pack is concerned. Only thing is the way the cost structure of the packed products are today, that might change. I'm also hearing a lot of places where people are talking about, rather than having a own factories, use the third parties which are available in that region to source and process and deliver the material. So I feel as far as the category is concerned, it will be a transition moving from loose to packed. The definition of packed might change, as I told you, and this is where we should be watching for next 1 to 2 years, because everybody, people will try to cut down the cost, but at the same time, they also want to take care of the safety. So it's going to be a balance of economy and survival.
Right. Vivek sir, your opinion on this?
Yeah, I think a couple of points mentioned, but I want to highlight is the supply chain models are completely rewritten now. How products were delivered to consumers before and how they're delivered now has changed a lot. And I think some of those will stick for longer time. And packaging has a critical role to play with the supply chain. So we have to think how this new supply chain models work with the packaging and what is the optimum packaging for particularly like e-commerce delivery models. And even now you are seeing kind of players which were in different segment like Swiggy, Zomato, now delivering packed food, right? So how this impacts traditional retail, modern retail, I think it's going to change a lot in next few months.
Correct. So what do you think will be the role of e-commerce and express stores in the future? Anyone?
Yeah, I'm answering that. So I don't see much of a change. So e-commerce was all during this lock-in period. E-commerce was growing rapidly because that was the only source people could depend on. Even though sometimes the delivery times were very, very long, people still had to rely on that because there was no other source from where they could source their goods. But I don't think once the lockdown ends and shops reopen, that kind of a growth is sustainable in the e-commerce. And just as Vivek sir informed us, that the supply chain is now to be rewritten the way it will not work in the way that it was working earlier. Reaching out to the deepest part of the country will be a challenge. So I don't see too much change in this category of e-commerce and express stores.
I feel that, as far as the e-commerce is concerned, today you find most of it is going to be rewritten. Just like we are talking about supply chain, the e-commerce business will be rewritten from the point of view that rather than having a few companies controlling the entire domain, you will have a lot of local companies which are near your vicinity coming up and helping you to connect and then deliver the products. And the mode of delivery can be different for different companies. And one of the simple reason is that before COVID, we found that almost 80% of many of the products were consumed on the go, which probably is going to be quite different down the line because the impact or the ripple effect of the current situation will be there at least for a year or so. And as a result, what will happen is that again, on a mega trend basis, you will find that the e-commerce business is going to grow because people don't want to go out and touch the things and pick up the things themselves to that extent because they are afraid of catching any kind of this one virus or any kind of infection, etc. The way it is, I have seen the apps like Dunzo and many others which are actually coming up, which are talking about connecting local-based deliveries, and that is where probably the trend is going to move because you will find that in one particular e-commerce company, you don't get all the stuff. And I think also, as the time grows, you will also find that the utilization of the units, which are between 30 to 50% in processed food, will go up. As a result, the abundance of availability also is going to happen. And the only thing is, rather than people going physically buying the product, many of the products which were earlier being bought fresh directly by the consumer, it might change to e-commerce model. The only thing is quality and the origin has to be ensured.
Correct. Vivek sir?
Yeah, I think both Fazal sir and Manish sir mentioned a lot of good points. So what we are seeing is hybrid models emerging. So combination of e-commerce and some traditional retail. So we are seeing some new platforms where we can order from nearby shops, but using the e-commerce platform, right? Instead of calling them or going to the store, we can order it from apps. So a lot of those things are getting developed very quickly. Even government regulations are changing quite rapidly. So probably you're all seen the regulations around farm produce and APMC Act. The regulation around medical consulting was a big one. I'm from a doctor's family. I'm the only one who is not a medical professional in my family. So this is something which was very unique when the lockdown started. So first time in India, government allowed teleconsulting. Until now, it was illegal, right? So now you can imagine how even patients and doctors are interacting. So there is definitely a concern for people to go out. And in this case, government wanted to keep people out of hospitals as much as possible. Same way, I think there is a concern, and that concern will remain for some time, particularly for consumers to go into crowded shops, malls, supermarkets. And we are seeing this from some of the other countries already, which were, you can say, ahead of India in number of cases, and they have recovered or controlled the situation now. And we see that people are avoiding big stores. They're using more e-commerce. They're using more neighborhood stores. So even the product mix, which you typically see in Southeast Asia in 7-Eleven, for example, right? It's a corner store. The type of products that they're selling has changed a lot, because people are, before they were coming only for on-the-go products, but now they're going there even for some of their basic necessities, which they will consume at home.
Correct. So as Fazal sir rightly said about the purchasing power, so our last question would be, with potentially lower incomes, which category of spending consumers are likely to cut down?
I think Manish sir has very well answered that question in the very first question, that anything that is luxury, anything that we don't need immediately, anything that can be put on hold, those things will be those purchasing would be put on hold by the consumers. But anything that we consume on an everyday basis, food, minimal cosmetics, cosmetics will also come under pressure, as Manish has said, because we'll not be meeting people too much, will not be going to parties and get-togethers. So maybe even that will get affected. But soaps, powders, detergents, floor washing, all these things are going to continue to have their usage as usual.
Hello.
Yes, Manish sir.
Yeah, so I agree whatever Fazal has said. I think the important point is that we as a consumer are somewhere in between as a middle class, but I think imagine the kind of people who are, most of it, who are actually looking at day-to-day products for survival. So earlier, if you see the bottom of pyramid, it was back to basics. So I think that cascading effect will somewhere start coming towards the lower middle class and the middle class as well. It is going to be the reverse, which will be happening at least for some time. And as I said, it is very simple. It is good to have versus must have. So I think in that category, you can bring about everything. A lot of impulse products which were there, which people were consuming, which may be unhealthy. It could be chips, it could be ice creams, it could be many other products. But now I think because of the reason that you are in containment, you are having medical facilities which are also going to be limited, etc. So I think a lot of products which are related to good health are the ones which will gain ground, and affordability for the basic products like your staples, your many items which can be bought at home, like roasted items you can make at home, you know, murmura, chana, etc. A lot of products will be such which you can do it yourself, will start gaining ground according to me. So there will be some bottom of pyramid cascading upward, according to me, could be another trend which you will see for some time, and it will take its own shape where you will have again a hybrid model of products which will be a packed product directly from the market versus the product which you buy cheaper, but you start doing something at your home to make it affordable, at the same time enjoyable.
Correct, sir. Vivek sir, any final points?
I think just to add that, see, as a consumer, as a human being, we like entertainment, right? We like relaxation. However, the way we get entertain ourselves now is changing, right? So now again, we are getting more involved in household chores. Cooking has become a hobby for a lot of people. So as I think Manish sir said, Fazal sir said, how people are interacting with products, with the goods has changed a lot. And again, packaging can play a role in terms of providing more interaction with the consumers.
Right. So thank you, Vivek sir. Thank you, Fazal sir, Manish sir, for your valuable insights. Very well said, very well answered. So I would like to hand over to Vivek sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Is it okay if I turn off the video?
Yes, sir, it's totally fine.
Okay. So I would like to start with a company video, just to give you background about Eka Global, and then we can get started with the presentation. You can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Eka Global has a strong ambition to produce longevity packaging that meets world standards and best addresses the changing needs and busy lifestyles of modern consumers worldwide. Our journey to achieving this goal began in 2003 when a group of visionary people who are passionate about packaging design started their research and development, a mission that continued for 3 years. In 2004, Island's first, Eka Global has been working hard to meet customers' demands and has continued to grow steadily. In 2008, we became one of the longevity food producers in Southeast Asia. In 2019, Eka Global acquired Printpak Asia and became one of the world's largest longevity packaging producers, boosting our annual production capacity to 2.5 billion pieces. Eka Global is the first and only company in Thailand to continuously research and develop packaging innovations that are waterproof and airtight, and can keep sterilized food products for 2 years without preservatives, freezing, or chilling. Eka Global's packaging is also ideal for modified atmosphere packaging of ready-to-eat food. By substituting atmospheric air with an inert gas like nitrogen or carbon dioxide in a packaged food product, our packaging can extend shelf life up to 6 months without preservatives and cold storage. Food safety is always our priority. In our production, we select only food-grade plastic that meets international food manufacturing standards like FSSC 2200, GMP, HACCP, and ISO 9001-2015. This makes Eka Global one of the world leaders in supplying longevity packaging to the domestic and international food industry. Our longevity packaging stands out from the crowd and has unique characteristics created by high technology. With a world-class standard, our packaging products are ready to help food producers elevate the quality of life of consumers worldwide through enhanced food safety, convenience, and an appealing modern look and feel. Our products are ready to become an integral part of consumers' daily lives. At Eka Global, the circular economy is at the heart of our business. Instead of make, use, and dispose as per the traditional business model, we have maximized the value of resources. Our packaging is 100% recyclable. We have designed our products and services by focusing on natural preservation, resource optimization, and minimization of waste and negative impacts on the environment. These business practices are the pride of Khun Chaiwat Nantiru, Eka Global's chairman and group chief executive officer, who is committed to create innovations that enhance consumers' lives and bring them convenience, food safety, and enjoyment. Eka Global, live a healthier lifestyle.
Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to switch to the presentation now. You can see the PowerPoint screen.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So today I would like to take this opportunity to talk about advances in high barrier rigid packaging and its applications. So it's combination of packaging and food processing. We'll be going through both of them together. So you saw the video about background of Eka Global. However, in India, I would like to give a quick background how we entered India. So Printpak, which is a US company, founded in 1956, opened an office in India in 2012. So I was working with Printpak in US, and then I relocated to India to start the business here with the intention of developing market in India. By 2017, we had crossed 100 customers. So in 2012, we had 0 customers in India. No applications, no customers at that point. In 5 years, we crossed about 100 customers. In 2019, Printpak sold Printpak Asia business to Eka Global. So with that, Printpak India, Printpak Thailand, and Printpak China was merged with Eka Global. So since last year, we are part of Eka Global, which has focus on Asia, Middle East, and Europe. In 2020, as of now, we have crossed 250 customers. So during this journey, we have learned a lot, particularly about Indian food processing industry, the unique applications, and how technologies can be applied to ultimately create a win-win situation for the brand owner and the consumer. So let's look at what's happening. I think you're probably hearing a lot of abbreviations. BC, which is for before COVID, AC for after COVID, like that. So just if you think about past and future, I think there was a good discussion in the beginning. If you want to summarize it in quickly, so we all need to eat, right? And during and after COVID. So that basic necessity of eating is there, will continue, but how do we meet that need is changing and will change, right? So there are a few options as a consumer. We can cook from scratch, however, it takes more time. We can use ready to prepare ingredients, as Manish sir mentioned. I also very much agree that there will be significant interest and growth in ready to prepare meal kits, breakfast kits, where you still get experience of cooking, but you can save on time. Going to a restaurant, again, is going to change significantly. People will avoid going out to eat for some time. Same thing with food delivery. This is a segment which a lot of people were hoping will increase with the lockdown, but actually the way it happened with a couple of cases, people felt it's unsafe to take delivered food. So we have to see how this plays out, because in this case, other countries, if you see the statistics, food delivery has done well, but in India, it's completely different, right? And then ready to eat category, again, something we expect certain growth, particularly with certain group of consumers who are very tight on time. Another big factor that's happening, and this is not necessarily new, this is a long-term trend that we are seeing, is the demographics. And particularly in a country like India, there are more and more millennials, the younger population, right? So the younger population have a different consumption habits compared to relatively elder population. Younger populations tend to be more willing to try new things. They're not as married to a specific brand. They're open to, again, try a new brand, try a new product. And then they're very much active in sharing their feedback with their colleagues, their friends, and basically endorsement by millennials is taken quite seriously by other millennials. So I think this will also play a role in terms of how particularly the young consumers will behave after the COVID situation. Another critical trend that again was already in the process and we see it's now accelerating is healthy food and clean labels. So this is where consumers now really want to know what is in the product. Is it natural? How much sugar is added? How much salt is added? Are there any preservatives? So this trend is becoming stronger. And now even people are looking at food as a preventive medicine, right? So it's called as nutraceuticals. So how can food keep us healthy and fit, not just keep us filled, right? So that trend is growing, and these type of products will increase in near future. Now, how do we achieve this? As a packaging professionals, we have to look at how advanced packaging solutions can extend the shelf life, particularly without using preservatives, meet the lifestyle demands, and improve sustainability while doing that. So here are some examples I would like to share. So typically a canned fruit, which was in a tin can, product is not very visible and not very consumer convenient. That has been replaced with a high barrier transparent container, because again, now when consumer sees the product, that itself is a basically indication to the consumer, yes, I can trust it. If they cannot see something, they tend to doubt it. So transparency has become one of the important criteria in packaging materials as well. Another example from NTR, our customer here in Bangalore, gulab jamun in a tin can, which is a multi-portion pack, along with now a portion pack. So nowadays, you see consumers have a lot more personal preferences, personal choice. So in a family, one person may like gulab jamun, other person may like rasgulla, and somebody may like Mysore pak. Right? So if you bring a big portion container, it may not get consumed very quickly. And that's where again, portion pack and convenience plays an important role. And this is an example of a ready-to-eat product. This is by Tata Smart Foods. So again, they've created a product which is free of preservatives and again, targeted particularly towards millennials, saving their time. We'll talk more about it later on. Now, how we do it is basically by combination of different polymers. And what we are targeting is the high barrier properties. Right? So here, typically, we are targeting oxygen level in a container of less than 0.01 cc per day. In some cases where ingredients are very sensitive, the barrier level can be tailored to less than 0.001. So this is what we can produce by customization of polymer structure. Here on the right-hand side, you can see a schematic where different polymers are structured in a layer fashion. Inside layer of a polymer plays an important role in food contact, sealing functionality. Outside layer plays a role in terms of drop resistance, toughness. Inside layers are again tailor-made depending on the typical use requirements, distribution chain requirements. For example, if it is a cold chain, or is the product going to be microwaved or go through retort processing. So certain properties are again enhanced depending on application and the end use. So we can make structures more than 11 layers by combining various polymers, and thickness range is from 0.6 to 2.3 mm. We are developing structures which are even lower in thickness for some specific application. So here you can see, again, each layer has a specific function. Certain polymers are designed for blocking oxygen from transmission. Certain polymers are designed to block carbon dioxide, and certain polymers play a role for moisture barrier. So this is a quick snapshot of co-extrusion setup. It's a busy picture, but if you can see on the top side, you see a flat die, T-die. That's where the sheets are extruded into a roll stack, and multiple extruders are being fed into a feed block. That's where the magic happens, basically combining various polymers in a layered structure, and then they come out and get extruded through a flat die. So after sheets are extruded, next step is thermoforming. This is where the containers are shaped according to specific customer requirements. And the machines that are used are, again, high precision thermoforming, so that we can get flat and coin seal surfaces, which are designed for best hermetic seal, because sealing, again, plays a critical role in shelf life. Now, what are the benefits of these barrier containers compared to other formats like glass or metal? So this is where we look at combination of food science, material science, and consumer needs. To just give you a few examples, so we can design packaging to protect food without preservatives, overall consumes less energy, lighter in weight, non-breakable. It can be customized, at the same time economical, looks modern and convenient, easy to open, and can be made in various colors and prints. So again, it's becoming more and more important to understand consumer needs and how we can combine packaging with suitable products. So when we look at shelf life of a food, there are two important factors. One part is processing technology, and second part is packaging technology. Both need to work together to extend the food shelf life. So when you look at different processing technology, we'll talk about traditional thermal processing. This is hot fill, pasteurization, or retort. So basically using heat to deactivate microbes. Then there are aseptic processing technologies. Again, they use heat, but in a different way. There are advanced thermal technologies like microwave-assisted thermal sterilization, which can reduce the time of sterilization and improve product quality. And then there are advanced non-thermal techniques, typically used where products are sensitive to heat. So examples are modified atmospheric packaging and high pressure pasteurization. Now the key is how we can design the packaging that can work with different processing technologies. It's not one solution fit all. So depending on the product, food technologies will choose a specific processing technology, and we from Eco Global can provide a packaging which can work with any of these processing technologies. So that's one of our strengths. We have a very good understanding on food processing technologies and providing the right kind of packaging material that will work with the food processing to extend the shelf life. So when we talk about shelf life, there are three pillars of shelf life. Number one is microbiological safety. If product is not safe microbiologically, of course, it's not safe for consumption. Second important part is sensory properties. I think you know very well. Taste, aroma, color, texture, and then the nutrition facts, which again need to be declared on a packaged food. Now here, we need to understand that what is the role of food processing and what is the role of packaging. So food processing is mainly looking at microbiological safety. However, packaging role is important for microbiological safety as well as sensory and nutrition, because by controlling gas permeation, it adds a hurdle for microbial growth. It also controls change of color, degradation of fats or vitamins, and also maintains the nutrition. So you can see here the importance of packaging. Irrespective of whatever processing technology is being used, packaging has an impact on all three pillars of shelf life. And whichever pillar fails first is the end of shelf life. For example, product may be microbiologically safe, but if it is not crunchy or the aroma has gone, then of course we would consider as a shelf life is over for that product. Now we'll talk about the technologies a little bit. We'll start with MAP, that's modified atmospheric packaging. And what this technology is basically changing normal air, which typically contains 20.9% oxygen, with a specific gas mixture. So we are taking out the gases around the product and replacing them with a specific gas combination, typically nitrogen combined with CO2. It depends again on the product formulation. So what MAP does, it controls the biochemical, enzymatic, and also the microbial growth in the product. That helps in extending the shelf life. So how much shelf life will increase? It really depends on the products, what are the ingredients, what is the process that's being used to manufacture the products. Also, the initial microbial load. So let's look at that a little bit. So if we take an example of one of the ethnic sweets, let's talk about peda, a very popular high volume ethnic sweet. By the way, many times I've seen, again, when I came to India, I didn't realize how big is this industry. But ethnic sweets in India is about 1 lakh crore industry. That's huge. And there was minimum technology being used. And that's what actually we saw as an opportunity, that we can provide technology and help this sector grow further. So when, again, coming back to what happens typically if peda is manufactured in a traditional way without much control on hygiene, GMP practices, it can easily have TPC of 1000 when the products are made. TPC is total platelet count, indicator of microbial load. And then it can increase very quickly within few days. That's why shelf life of peda is usually few days, because microbes grow exponentially. Now, if same product is made in a better way, much more hygienically, then we can reduce the microbial load, initial microbial load. However, those microbes will still grow. They will take a little longer. So instead of 3-4 days, you can get 7-8 days of shelf life. Still, that's not enough to really distribute the product. So that's why most of the sweets industry was limited to selling their products from their outlets. Now, how we can support that industry is by using technology. So now if we apply MAP, even for a product which is made normal scenario, we can quickly drop down the microbial load, because when we take out oxygen completely, the aerobic microbes are eliminated. And then the remaining microbes, if there are any non-aerobic microbes, they will still live, but they will be basically very weak position because of CO2. CO2 actually attacks their microbial structure, right? So you can say they will be in a coma. So the growth rate will be much, much slower compared to in a normal condition. So here now we can extend shelf life from 3-4 days to 15-20 days. Now that gives some promise of distribution. However, if we start with a hygienically made product, then the improvement is much more significant. Now, instead of 3-4 days of shelf life, we can easily get 45 to 60 days. And in some cases, some of our customers which are more automated, more advanced, they minimize the human contact. We have seen shelf life even up to 6 months for ethnic sweets. So the process includes first with the containers being filled with the products. Certain products need immediate cooling. They pass through UV tunnel. UV tunnel is a very well-known surface decontamination technique, which will decontaminate packaging material and products only on the surface. And then it goes through vacuum gas flush and sealing, right? So MAP, again, typically applied for low to medium water activity products. Again, the type of products can be, it's a huge range, but let's talk about what's happening in India. So one of the big growth market we have seen is ethnic sweets, as I mentioned earlier. So some of you who are from Bangalore or who have traveled in last 2-3 years have seen this product in airports, and even right now it's one of the most hot cake product in Noida. when I was talking to this brand owner just last week, they said the biggest selling point right now is in Noida because all other sweet shops are closed. So what they do is they manufacture the products in a hygienically way, use MAP for extending shelf life. So in this case, without preservative, Mysore Pak has a shelf life of 3 months. Actually, it's much more, but they decided to go with a 3-month declaration. With that, they can distribute the products all over India. And this is a unique case because this brand owner does not have even a single store. Typically, if you think about ethnic sweets, halwais, their business is through their stores. So this brand owner really changed the business model. They don't have a single store. They don't invest in store decoration, maintenance, and all that. They invested in technology. And they really have seen benefits from it. A similar success story with Haldiram, in this case Nagpur. A very popular product is Orange Burfi. Before they could sell only through their shops in Nagpur, but now with MAP technology, they can distribute all over West and South India, which is the region for Haldiram Nagpur, right? Again, they can go through express stores, they can go through online delivery. And something interesting we saw last year when the technology has really gained momentum, at the time of Rakhi, before a brother would send a gift of chocolate pack or dry fruits to a sister, because now many times they're not able to meet in person. But last year we saw a significant jump, people sending ethnic sweets for Rakhi. And even that continued through the other festivals as well. So this, you can understand how a packaging technology has changed consumer preferences for products. They're again going back to the traditional. Here are a few more examples of ethnic sweets. You can see products from all over India, some of the well-known names, Amul or KMF. Shri Dairy is a small brand out of Tamil Nadu, but they started well and now they're even exporting ethnic sweets. In addition to sweets, there are many other products that can benefit with MAP applications. For example, dry fruits and nuts. So again, dates is a quite significant category in India. It's a healthy snack, but it's a fruit. So it tends to have larva type of insect that can grow very quickly. And if you dry the dates, then the consumer experience is not the same, right? So how you can still give the soft dates, but keep them safe from infestation is by using MAP. Same with nuts like cashews or even snack packs. More convenient on-the-go packs can be provided using MAP. A lot of bakery products, as if you see now, most of the moist bakery products which are in retail chain are using preservative, because with moisture, there is a risk of microbial growth, and the way they're controlling it is using preservative. However, as we discussed earlier, consumers are shifting towards products which are more natural, free of preservative. That can be done with MAP. Savory products, again, more unique experience. We have seen in the market probably packs like snack and a dip. We have seen Indians love chutneys. Whatever they are snacking, if you give it with a chutney, it's a significant value addition, or a sauce. So we have seen products like chip and dip, matri and sauce, many combinations. Even a portion pack of chips, a healthy snack can be done using MAP. A lot of ready-to-eat products which are in chill distribution can benefit from MAP. Here I've shared example, one from India as well as one from US. So typically like wraps, sandwiches, even we have customers using this technology for biryanis, pulavs, where shelf life can extend from a day to 8 to 10 days in a chill condition. Dehydrated instant mixes. So this is the category closest to ready to prepare. So in India, typically right now what we see, there is a pouch inside a pack, a container. The pouch is redundant. It's actually a more work for the consumer It has a higher environmental impact. We can eliminate that completely by going in a barrier container. Value-added dairy products like Khoa or even specialty cheeses like mozzarella, we can extend the shelf life significantly. Meat and seafood, again, this category has seen two ends right now with the COVID situation. As the panelists discussed earlier, the consumption dropped significantly. And again, in that consumption, particularly the typical shops that sell seafood and meat were closed down. And even when they opened, consumers are not interested in going there. Instead, what they're doing is they're ordering online. So Licious, who is one of our customers, has seen big jump in their consumers' preference towards packaged meat. And again, these products have very short shelf life, typically less than a day. However, when we use MAP, we can extend it up to a week, which is significant in terms of supply chain and distribution, managing supply demand. Cut fruits, particularly value-added cut fruits, can benefit quite a bit using MAP. Here I gave my preferred or loved fruit example, pomegranate Ariels. I love it, but I hate to peel it. I never peeled it in last 8 years, but I've peeled plenty in last 2 months because there is no other option. So again, we can provide a healthy snack in a more convenient way. In this case, we can get shelf life easily from, instead of 1 day, we can get up to 15 days. So now let's move on from MAP from the thermal processing technology, hot fill and pasteurization. Here, moderate temperature, moderate heat treatment is used to deactivate the microbes. And again, the objective is to extend the shelf life by controlling microbiological as well as enzymatic reactions in the food product. So the process involves filling the product in the container, typically hot, sealing it, passing it through a hot water bath, especially if the product has any particulates, then cooling it down. This technology is applied for high acid foods or high sugar products. Typically, when we look at acidity less than 4.2 is considered high acid. So these are some of the examples of hot fill sterilization, a lot of dips and sauces, a lot of fruit purees. This is the example of applesauce from Mott's. This is from US. However, we see a lot of interest, and we have some customers who are already starting similar product lines in India. It's a very healthy snack. It's just like eating real apple in terms of nutrition, but in a convenient way, right? And the processing is also not very complex. Next is the in-package pasteurization process. So this is extension of hot fill, especially when the product has particulates or chunks. So here, after hot filling and sealing, package goes through further heat processing, thermal processing in a water bath, typically at 85 degrees Celsius. So heat can penetrate in the particulates and deactivate the microbes. So here, products like gulab jamun, rasgulla, even fruits with chunks and pieces can be sterilized using hot fill plus pasteurization. Here you can see some more examples. So you can see some examples with Indian products, some examples with global products, and we are seeing now a lot of products now entering Indian market, adopting new technologies like this. The next level of thermal sterilization is retort technology. Here the sterilization happens above 100 degrees Celsius, so pasteurization hot fill is below 100. Here we are processing above 100 degrees Celsius for a specific time, so that heat can penetrate and deactivate the microbes. Again, packaging and seal integrity are critical. And for the products after sterilization, no refrigeration is required. So that's one of the biggest benefit here. So the products again are filled, sealed, loaded into the retort baskets, go through a retort process. This technology is used for low acid foods typically pH about 4.6. Again, to deactivate all type of microbes, including spores. So the long shelf life can be achieved. So these are some of the examples of retort sterilized products. So you can see many value-added dairy products like kheer, dalia, gulab jamun rasgulla, ready-to-eat meals, snacks, desserts. Again, the range is quite big. Some of the global examples, the picture on the left side, that's a customer in China. They produce congee or porridge. That's a huge application in India, very simple product, but every day they process about 1 million containers, 10 lakh pieces. It's a very staple food. Consumers would just add toppings in the congee and they can eat it quickly. Similarly, Sunrise, that's a brand from Australia. So for consumers there, rice is not a staple, but when they want to eat it, they want it in a convenient way. They prefer a retorted container, just heat and eat, basically a side dish along with their main meal. Example of a baby porridge from Vietnam. And another big category we see is pet food. So this is again a growing category where just like us, pet parents are thinking about nutrition and well-being of the pets. So the product range and complexity is ever increasing. Next technology platform is aseptic form fill seal. So this is very similar to what liquid carton or Tetra Pak technology is, but instead of starting with a multi-material composite like paper, foil, polymer, here we are starting with a multi-layer plastic, which is recyclable, going through the aseptic sterilization, forming and filling all in an aseptic chamber. So this technology is used typically for products which are pumpable. So preferably without particulates or small particulates, products can be processed. The materials are sterilized using high temperature steam or hydrogen peroxide, or sometimes the combination. Right? And here you can see products which are not just liquid, but even thick like a pudding or a dessert can be processed using FFS, aseptic process. You can see an example of yogurt. So this is shelf-stable yogurt with a shelf life of 18 months made by Nestle Gerber. Another upcoming technology is high pressure pasteurization. So this is non-thermal processing, meaning without application of heat. Now the means of controlling microbial growth is by using high pressure. So in normal condition at a sea level, the pressure is 1 bar. And you may know if you like swimming, if you go underwater, as you go below a few meters, you start feeling a lot of pressure. So human body cannot even handle 1.4, 1.5 bar. In this case, products are filled into the package, sealed, and then they're put through a HPP machine where the pressure is increased to 6,000 bar. So you can imagine, not 10 bar, 100 bar, but 6,000 bar, while keeping the temperature low. So that pressure actually can deactivate many of the microbes, not all, but many of the microbes, and extend the shelf life. So here the limitation is microbes which come into the spores category cannot be deactivated using HPP. For that, thermal sterilization is a must, but the products which are not having spores or very low load of spores benefit a lot from HPP. So here are some examples such as fruit purees, sauces, dips, spreads, which again tend to be more heat sensitive. Benefit of HPP is also higher nutrition retention. Since no heat is applied, nutrition retention is much, much better. And we are seeing growth of this type of technology in Asia, even in India. There was only one player for a long time, but now there are 2 more companies which have introduced this technology. And I think in near future, we'll see more and more products using this technology in India. Then we'll talk about one of the latest technology that's coming to limelight. That's microwave-assisted thermosterilization. So this is, in simple words, it's much advanced retort technology. The key difference is how the heat is provided to the product. So in retort process, heat is applied from the outside, and that has to conduct slowly inside the package. That takes quite a bit of time. Compared to that, if we use microwave sterilization, this is using industrial microwaves. The microwaves can heat the product inside out very uniformly and much quickly. So here I would like to compare this to our traditional fuel cars like petrol and diesel cars versus electric cars. So you know, petrol and diesel cars have been around for a long time, just like retort. Retort is a 200-year technology. Right? Many in India think, hey, it's new. Not really. It's been around for 200 years. It's improved a lot over that time, just like the cars in terms of efficiency, safety. However, the step change came when the electric cars started coming. Right? Complete technology is different. Same here with match technology. The key purpose is still the same, thermosterilization, but how it is different is the way heat is introduced. Here you can see what difference it makes in terms of processing time. So the red curve is retort processing, where it takes a little more than 40 minutes to complete the processing, while the blue curve is microwave sterilization for the same product. Right? With this, we can complete sterilization in about 20 minutes. Now, when we can cut down time significantly, it helps in improving the nutrition, color, taste, texture. So ultimately, the product is better perceived by the consumer. And something very interesting, the first company, not just in India, but in the world, to bring it to the consumers is Tata. So they invested very early on into this technology and are successful in bringing the product to the market. And while talking to them, you can guess which was the highest selling month for them, April. Right? Because now consumers are looking for something same, quick, particularly millennials. A lot of people who are staying single or in hostels or in PGs, they need some variety, but something quick, something convenient. So as packaging professionals, you know very well, packaging plays multiple roles. One of the key role is also to protect and present. So here we have shown a couple of examples where we have designed packaging, taking into consideration what's inside and how to protect it. So chips along with the dip and how we can make it a presentable. So this is one of the package format we developed, has been quite successful, adopted by multiple brands. Another package here is, this is for laddus, again, a very popular ethnic sweet. And the challenge we were seeing with our consumers, the shelf life was extending, but in a standard tray design, the product was breaking. So nobody likes broken laddu, right? So that's what we developed, a unique design, patented design, where laddus can kept properly sealed with, and not just a shelf life, but even the product can be protected throughout the supply chain. I think you all know importance of easy peel or easy opening. So nowadays consumers hate packages which are not easy to open. You can't expect them to use a scissor or a knife to open a package. And they're quite vocal about it. If a package is difficult to open, you're probably going to get a feedback through your helpline or a comment on your Facebook or a Twitter account quite quickly. So again, we can design packaging materials which can provide easy peel performance. Another critical factor is the compliance, especially when you're looking at broad range of applications from MAP to microwave sterilization. We have to understand the particular food process, type of food product, and also the condition of use, right? Certain products consumer may keep it in the freezer. Certain products they will microwave before consumption. So we have to take that into consideration, and we have very strong know-how and expertise in selection of materials which meet India as well as global compliance requirements. Circular economy is another very important criteria in how we operate. So we have focused our efforts right from the manufacturing stage. So our factories have 0% landfill. Not a single gram of plastic from our factory goes to landfill. Everything gets utilized inside. In last 2 years, we've improved our energy efficiency so that we can reduce electrical consumption by 30% while increasing our production. Right? Second part is the use. Again, we have to create packaging materials which can lower carbon footprint. In this case, we have designed packaging material which can provide performance similar to glass and metal, a barrier performance, while it has much lower carbon footprint overall when you look at life cycle analysis, and especially when our materials are fully recyclable. So we have designed our structures which are 100% recyclable, certified in India as well as many global regulators. And the next step is looking at how we can improve chemical recycling. And again, this starts with the basic design of polymer structures, how we can select polymers which are more friendly for chemical recycling, rather plastics to energy, plastics to fuel, and even plastic to new plastic. So these technologies are being developed quite quickly. We are very actively involved in these technologies, and you'll see some of these technologies coming online in next 2-3 years. We also have a program on bio-based polymers, particularly how we can provide the cost-effective bio-based polymers. Some of the biopolymers, are quite expensive. We have them on offering. However, we have seen the adoption rate is very, very low. That's why we realized there is a need to develop biomaterials which are cost-effective. And we are in process of commercializing application with that, starting with the dairy application. So something we are very proud of is our experience and know-how. So we have over 45 years of experience in barrier technology, manufacturing these type of sheets and containers. And we produce over 2.5 billion containers per year. So this expertise and know-how is very important when ultimately we want to protect a brand. We cannot afford a situation where even a single package doesn't have required barrier property. Because if the product spoils or doesn't meet the sensory requirements, that's a failure for the brand owner and failure for the packaging manufacturer. Now, of course, this is done working together with our channel partners, what we call Econovation Hub. We cannot bring all these technologies to the market on our own. We know that very well. So that's why we work very closely with our suppliers, equipment manufacturers, understanding customer needs. We have collaborations with research organizations and universities. So we can see what are the trends in the market, what technologies are available, and couple them to bring solutions to market at a much faster rate. So this is a small snapshot of our customers. As I said, we have more than 250 customers in India. And we are very proud to say there are many customers of us which are startups and small and medium-sized customers. It's not like we are only working with large companies. We're working with many small and medium companies, many startups. Frankly speaking, they are much quicker in adopting a technology. And they actually create the momentum, which then bigger companies tend to follow. So it's a win-win situation in a way. With that, I would like to thank you and share a picture with a quick personal story. So this is my daughter, and she loves ethnic sweets. You will always find ethnic sweets in our home. You probably won't find chocolate, but you'll always find ethnic sweets because all of us love it. However, after the lockdown started, we couldn't get any of these, right? And she asked, can I get peda? So my wife said, maybe I can make it at home, but it's a cumbersome process. And interestingly, same day we get a message from our milk delivery person that he can deliver Nandini peda at home along with the milk pouches if we inform him in advance. So we messaged him back. We get a peda next day along with our milk pouches, and very happy to see it came in our packaging. So I can really see how a technology can help at a personal level. And that's a real testimony when we are all working in this profession. When you see really your near and dear ones can benefit with the technology, you can understand the potential for the entire country and all the consumers. With that, thank you very much, and we can take any questions.
Thank you, Vivek sir. Your conclusion was actually a real delight with concluding with your personal story. Thank you, sir. It was an enlightening session as such. We have some question and answers. Though your key employees, Vishal and Srijit, had answered much of them. Thank you, Vishal and Srijit. So I have one question for you, sir.
Yeah.
How to make these technology affordable to startups? For example, microwave-assisted thermal sterilization. This is very expensive and can affordable only by big companies. What is ECA Global plan to make this technology affordable so many startups in food sectors can be created?
Okay, very good question. So this is where I think the collaboration and new type of business models come into play. For example, we have set up a R&D lab in Bangalore near Electronic City. I think some of you have probably already visited, which has many of these technologies available. Not microsterilization, but MAP, hot fill, pasteurization, and even a retort, which was not available that easily in India before. And this facility is FFSAI certified. Some of the startups actually use this facility for production at a small scale to test launch, to get consumer feedback before they go and join hands with a co-packer or set up their own factory. So again, this is an approach and infrastructure we have created with our channel partners that startups can access. Coming to mats specifically, now this technology, Tata has certain, basically you can say their own preferences, how they want to use this technology in India. At the same time, for certain categories, they're open for collaboration. So it depends on the product type. I can connect a startup with Tata and 915 Labs, which owns the technology, and Tata can provide their lab for testing. Again, Tata knows very well they cannot make all the food products, so they're going to focus on certain range, and they're open for collaboration, even providing services, lab services, as well as co-manufacturing services for certain products.
So one more question. The packaging contains high barrier. How are they easily recycled? Is PCR technology used in these?
Okay, so that's again, that comes from the polymer selection and understanding of how the compatibilization can be done. So there are meaning different polymers that go in this structure, but they're from the same family. And we use some special ingredients which makes compatibilization much more efficient, so that when the structures are recycled, the properties are very close to single polymer structure. And those are the criteria. So each country has certain standards for recycling. We can go into, probably we'll need another session to talk about it. But ultimately they look at the mechanically recycled material properties, how close they are to the monomaterial structure or monomaterial performance. So again, by using specific type of polymers and ingredients which can help in compatibilization, controlling degradation, we can improve the recyclability.
We have received some questions through mails too. So what are the MAP technologies for fresh juices?
MAP technology for fresh juices? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So fresh juice is a high water activity product, very high level of moisture. So frankly speaking, MAP is not the best fit for fresh juices. Now you can combine multiple technologies. So you can combine MAP with hot fill. That can give you advantage for products like fresh juices. So when we talk about food processing and shelf life extension, it's always what food technologists call hurdles. So you have to add multiple hurdles. So barrier packaging is one hurdle. MAP is another hurdle. Hot filling is another hurdle. More hurdles we add, safer the product we can make.
Correct. So can we use the fresh juices into thermoform glasses like Tata Gluco water?
Yeah. With barrier glasses, it's actually quite commonly done product abroad. Fresh juices, even fruit chunks in juices, all natural.
Contribution of packaging during the pandemic and after the pandemic is substantial. Will this be diminished, and will there be threat to plastic packaging in spite of initiatives on sustainability by brand owners?
Okay, so it's a bit complex question, I think, as you all know. I'll do my best to answer it. There are two parts to it. One is really the role of packaging, particularly in pandemic as well as in normal times. So here we have seen, and again, I think realized role packaging plays in safety of particularly the food products, right? Avoiding the wastage. Then the secondary part, which is also equally important, is the effect on the environment. Now, here you can have a lot of points of view. However, one key reason that we see pollution, plastic pollution, is our social behavior, right? How we handle waste. And another part linked to that is the infrastructure. So plastic itself is not a problem. How the plastic is handled, disposed, that's the challenge right now. Where we have to go is, again, creating materials which are more sustainable in terms of providing easy recycling, creating more value in terms of economic value for recycling. When you have economic value, there will be supporting infrastructure coming into place. If something doesn't have economic value, there won't be any supporting infrastructure in place. So from plastic and packaging profession, I would say this is, in a way, exciting time, because this is where you can really create something unique, something new, which can still meet the needs of food safety and reaching to consumer, at the same time minimizing impact on the environment.
Right. Whether packaging laminate structure will change if sterilization process changes from retort sterilization to microwave assisted thermal sterilization?
Yes, there are certain changes required. Again, because in retort, the heating is passive heating. Heat is being applied from outside. And if the temperature in a retort chamber is set at 121 Celsius, for example, there is no reason food temperature will go more than 121. So you have very controlled parameters. In microwave sterilization, it's active heating. So microwaves are converted into heat energy as they interact with moisture in the food. So depending on the ingredients, there can be hot spots during microwave sterilization, and the temperatures can go as high as 135 Celsius. We have seen even 145 Celsius, which have different compliance requirements compared to retort.
Right. So we have seen many products which have leading application. What material is this leading film? Do you have in-house production of these leading films as well?
So we have collaborated with a Japanese company to provide leading films in India. We do not manufacture it ourselves, but we have a partner company that manufactures leading films.
One nice question. As mentioned, consumers are paying close attention to what they eat, but they are also paying attention to concepts like carbon footprint. So how does ICA Global achieve recycling of plastic and zero landfill?
Okay. So again, it starts with the design of the structures, selection of the polymers. So when we select the polymers which are more robust, more friendly, and can handle heat multiple times, those tend to be recycle friendly. Combining different polymers is challenging, and that's where our experience and know-how comes into play. So with that, basically, even in our factory, as I said earlier, all the polymer that comes in gets used. So always there is some waste in the production process, but we convert that waste even again into value-added products inside our plants. So that's something we have to look from the product mix perspective. Another part of sustainability is how the factories are designed, and particularly looking at energy efficiency, and ultimately what the packaging function does. So here we focus on shelf life extension, which in turn significantly reduces food wastage. So it's not one point answer. There are multiple things which are linked together, which provide ultimately better sustainability.
One last question. Can you suggest the packaging structure and economical technology for semi-solid food or ready-to-eat food?
Yes, particularly in India, meaning the products are so varied. This is something I personally enjoy because I learn every day. So we would be happy to discuss any specific product that you have in mind. You can reach out to us and we can guide you on which food technology, food processing technology is best suited and which packaging structure can work best with that product and process.
So we have more and more questions coming in. So could we just collect the questions and mail you, sir, your mail ID?
Definitely. I'll be happy to answer them via email.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for pulling out your time in this Sunday morning. Hope our participants had got to learn much from this. Manish sir and Fazal sir, any concluding remark from your side?
Yeah, what I can say is that, the science, technology, and the tradition, all the three we have to start utilizing very well. I think the Prime Minister has already spoken about local with the global outlook and also being vocal about it. So I think the technology platforms like this and many others will help us to grow in that. And also it will also give rise to a sort of entrepreneurship among the packaging professionals, which also I feel is going to be, if you want to increase our shelf life as a professionals, I think that is another thing which probably one can learn, because what Vivek has talked about is basically one part of the technology, but look at the kind of application it has for a traditional products. And so I feel that, technology is the way forward along with the local products and local solutions. And I think what we started with saying that there will be a new things which will be coming up. I think this is the right direction in that.
Thank you, Manish sir. Fazal sir? I think Fazal sir is in there. Okay. So thank you, Vivek sir. So it's time to end this webinar.
Thank you, Manish sir. Thank you, Fazal sir.
Thank you.
And thanks PackMeets for organizing this event. I hope it was good learning for all of you. And I'm always happy to share our experience, our know-how. Please reach out to us with any questions, any ideas. And as I said, we have full-fledged lab in Bangalore. Similarly, we have labs with our partners throughout India. We have lab in Chennai, we have lab in Mumbai, Pune, Ahmedabad, Delhi. So be ready to try and learn.
Definitely, sir.
And I would like to also mention that, Vivek is one person who has got not only the global know-how, but he is very helpful. And one of the things which we must use is go and see his lab. I've been to the lab in Bangalore and getting the actual experience in terms of how you can create basically a lab model or a pilot model, etc., is something which one can also interact with him and see that, which products can be then go to the market. So as a person, as a company, I think this is something which we must make use of for win-win for each other.
Correct, sir. We'll definitely try, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Manish, sir. Thank you, Vivek, sir.
Thank you, everyone.